I really felt that, coding is kind of a waste of my abilities.
So today we have a very special guest. He's someone who did both his undergrad and masters in computer science and is currently working in an Australian company called Aristocrat. He solves math to design casino games. Welcome to the show, Ishan.
Thank you, Sidra. Glad to be here.
So Ishan, you did all your education in computer science in a very niche field for your masters. So tell me how does gaming fit into this puzzle?
I'd always been interested in software development and somewhere never really had a chance to get a hang of it. Was coding averse initially, and later on, when due to pressures of the environment, I had to move into coding. I figured that it was not really my cup of tea. I was placed in CTS, Cognizant Technology Solutions, after I completed my B.Tech. And that was along with a lot of other students of my college, and somewhere the desire within me was not to go with the herd mentality. The reason I say this is because I'd done my masters, and that was in a mathematical field called controls and computing, and which involved a lot of maths, probability, statistics, linear algebra, optimal control systems. So a pure coding job was somewhere underutilizing my education, which is why I thought, I really felt that, coding is kind of a waste of my abilities. That is how I explored the domain of maths plus computer science, and got an opportunity accidentally. It was not, a planned thing. But once I got an opportunity in games, and computer games is something that I've been playing right from childhood, spending many hours, wasting as per my parents, but spending as per me. That was something which very much attracted me, and I said, let's give it a shot. And after giving it a shot, I started enjoying it, and because I was being able to create value.
Tell me about, I understand PC gaming, mobile gaming. How did you get into casino gaming?
PC and mobile gaming, unfortunately, at that time in India, and I'm talking about 2012, wasn't so much of a popular industry, or maybe the word is populous. So there were not many opportunities for that kind of, for a computer science developer to find a job there. Especially one who is looking to not just explore the regular field of software development, but also look at applying maths, and really look at, designing how the game logic works. So a company from the United Kingdom offered me an opportunity in the field of casino gaming. And this was one of the very few companies at that time who were looking to explore, people from other countries in the very core logic of game design. And the reason they did that was because they wanted a fresh perspective. And that kind of brought me onto the scene. I looked at the project. I kind of, it felt interesting to me. It was appealing. And once I could get the probability and statistics into it, and then, kind of make a simulation out of it in C++, it was something really interesting.
Let's dive straight into how math and gaming are related.
So yes, casino game is purely stats, and a lot of probability and statistics essentially are what drives the game. That's the logic of it. The rest of it is pretty much computer science revolving around that. But if you look at something like any first-person shooter, something a little older but very popular like Max Payne, where it's a third-person shooter which can go to a first-person shooter as well, or something very recent that's like PUBG. So again, a lot of math and physics is involved. Well, if I am a shooter and I am trying to target a person, so that person needs to come into my frame, which essentially is nothing but a 2D graph for me. And of course, now with advancement in technology, I can have a z-axis applied to it as well. But the entire pointing and the trajectory of the bullet, everything has to come very close to what happens in a real world scenario, which thankfully we are able to do now because of the advancement of technology. I think we've really evolved from there, and kind of now in a stage where we are more focusing on how to evolve and better the core gaming elements. And the core gaming elements here are the trajectory of the bullet and the times, and if you can involve more elements like the wind speeds and how the person in front of you is moving, that is kind of being focused on right now, because we have the basics of technology in place. So we know how to kind of exploit the hardware, but what exactly do you do after harnessing the power of the hardware is what we are focusing on right now. And that is where math comes in. And of course, the concepts of physics as well. A game like FIFA, which again involves a lot of physics and maths, work on things like what is the angle, what is the impetus with which the ball is kicked, and how do you put a curve onto the ball so that from where are you kicking it. So the idea is to make that game mimic real life football field as much as possible. And of course, I have spoken about a first person shooter where again the idea is to make that entire thing as close as possible to the real life. So the math that goes into this is, of course, a lot of projectile motion and the angle of the bullet. Of course, there is a lot of, if you're shooting from a height, then a lot of ascent and descent comes in. So again, this all is going back to class 10 when we are looking at trigonometry. And, and all those concepts are now actually coming alive.
Just tell me about how the roles of, let's say, a game developer, a game designer, or a game narrator, or all those kind of roles differ from each other. More so, like, can you weigh the pros and cons of each kind of role?
So there are these three, prominent roles that come out. One is that of a game designer, whose primary role is to think about what the game would do, the logic of it, and what all features it would involve. So if that person is more of a technical intent, then he could evolve into a game designer full time. Because so of course the companies are looking for people who can think out of the box and really have creative solutions and have a kind of a gaming background, but they are not just looking for that. So they also need people who can translate that logic with the help of math and physics into how it would actually come about. So they could kind of implement that, not in a coding language, but at least in a language which can be very easily understood by the other departments of the game studio. And so it could be quickly converted into a product. The core role of a designer is of course to think out of the box and look at it on what the game would be doing, but also needs to have the kind of technical background to be able to convert it into a proper product roadmap, saying that these are the things which would actually be needed to convert this game into a playable thing. The game developer role is also very important, but that involves less of creativity in terms of thinking what elements the game would have, but more on what kind of technology would actually go down to implement those kind of elements. So if you want vectors or if you want more math, then do you go with an Unreal Engine? And or you go with something like Unity 3D and C++. So if you're looking at virtual sports, then what exactly are you going to deal with? Do you go for something like a lumberyard technology, or you go for the other prevalent technologies that are there? So those very, very technical calls are taken by game developers who have experiences. And then of course they have a team under them who can actually code up the stuff and do the separate modules themselves. And the third is of course of a game tester, whose sole role is to play the game and find bugs. So play the game for the heck of it, yes, but play the game to kind of break it, see where it fails, so that the user does not get a chance to make it fail.
I mean, we all know how competitive campus placements can be, and sometimes it's not even about the role or the work. Sometimes it's more about the company, but at the end of the day, it's all about what's your C2C. When it comes to gaming industry, what are the packages like for freshers with certain kind of portfolio, let's say 0 to 2 years? and tell us how they can actually apply to these kind of gaming startups.
The way to apply to these startups is, famous websites like AngelList is one of them. And of course, if you are coming from a tier 1, 2, or 3 college, then the college itself has a very good alumni network that, kind of helps you, get in touch with the companies. And the kind of financials that you're looking at as far as the 3 roles are concerned, the 3 major roles are concerned. So for a game designer, frankly, a 0 to 2 years experience is not really looked at because you need a more experienced person. As I said, the kind of skill set that you need is, you need to have been an ardent gamer, yes, definitely, but you also need to have had spent a lot of time in the industry. So you need to have taken a look at what kind of tools are involved to building a game, and you need experience behind you of people who have interacting with people, of knowing what kind of product people really like. So a 0 to 2 years, it is virtually impossible to find a game designer role for that. But the developer and tester roles are extremely available, because a developer is very similar to a software developer, because that's at the end what you're doing, you're coding. But in case you are coding a game and you are enthusiastic about playing computer games, your work definitely gives you more value. Same goes for a quality analyst or a tester role. So again, you have to test the product as a quality analyst, be it a financial software, be it an IT software, payroll kind of, or be it a computer game. Now, out of the 3, if you are an avid enthusiast of computer gaming, you would enjoy the testing of a computer gaming as a profession. So it is, so the financials that you can look at is anything between a regular 3 to 6 lakh package for a software developer. And of course, for a tester, it is slightly less. So I would say, again, 3 to 5.5 just to start. Coming with no kind of experience, it would be around that. But coming with a 2 years kind of experience, it would be closer to 6 as well.
Imagine there's actually a college student and who wants to probably become an independent game designer. And he wants it as a side hustle to earn cash by developing mobile apps. So I want to understand how much of revenue, usually are individual game developers able to generate, and if it is a financially sustainable career.
Definitely is. And, to get to that point, I would say that you need to, freelance, you need to get your hands dirty is basically the thing. So you might have to freelance, you might have to join somewhere full time, but coming straight to the point of revenue, you can look at the Indian, digital population, I would say, which is at least, if not more than 10% of our existing population, which was somewhere pegged to be at 120 crores, right? So 10% of that is 12 crore people. And if you are capturing, even 20% of that with a game which is really popular, and initially it could be, free to play, because that's the kind of model that works in the industry these days. So if you are able to tap into even, let's say 1 CR of people, and with a free to play, that gets you enough eyeballs for advertising companies to come in, which can be a source of revenue. Let's say if your game has a component which kind of motivates the person to spend 10 rupees for in-game gold or something, then you can just look at the size of revenue. So you have 1 crore people, even if a lakh of people, so that's like 1% of the 1 crore which is playing your game. So a lakh of people spends $10 on your game on a monthly basis. You don't really need to do the math there. That is earning you more than a corporate VP of a decent company.